So whatever.
I
Hello.
always forget to.
Oh, what?
Oh, never mind.
Okay. Another episode of Esoteric Book Club. Um, we are reading Illuminations, stories by, oh, it's backwards, but stories by Alan Moore. So short story format, we'll be reading one story at a time. This one, we are discussing the first chapter, which is Hypothetical Lizard. Um, yeah, let's go over big picture. I mean, this will be more, I mean, since we're reading fiction, I mean, there were a lot of messages in here though. So we could just, I mean, let's do big picture, like summary for us three, and then we'll kind of get into it. And just let the conversation flow because yeah. I mean, my impression is Alan Moore is, I mean, remarkable. Like this is so well crafted. I felt engaged the entire time. I love fiction in general, so I'm so grateful that you recommended this, Cody. This is definitely um really really good writing. I feel it may be the most um I don't want to say absurd, but like intellectually stimulatingly absurd piece of fiction I've ever read, I guess. And it was really really messed up. Like it wasn't like horror, it was more like psychological torment. um that I'm really glad I was in a good place to read it at, because I think that there were so many things that were really messed up that were just accepted as normal in this world that is very was a very interesting read. Like, and yeah, I mean, I kind of related to it, unfortunately. So yeah, we could talk about it. And I mean, I think it would. I mean, what an incredible piece this would be if someone could, make it into a movie or something. I mean, geez, like I don't. I think the content's too horrifying to be accepted in any type of theater, obviously. But I mean, just the way he describes this type of world, I'd never read something described so intricately like that, I guess. So really enjoyed it, but really, really messed up. Cody, what did you think?
Yeah, also like I really like this story a lot. I think it brings up some really interesting questions about magic, um, the abyss, like the nature of truth. Um, I have a bunch of discussion questions, so maybe we can bring
Oh,
some of those
good.
up. But more questions than answers. I think there's a lot of questions, and I think he I think he like distills the essence of some really deep, important stuff that's really hard to actually express, but he kind of like just through our artistic expression, it's like it sinks in. There's like something there. It's not explicit because it can't be explicit. And I really like how he does that. I think Alan Moore is kind of a genius at that. Um, I think he really under well, for one, he does really understand Western esoteric traditions, and he's done a lot of practice. So I think that shines in his writing. And yeah, it's dark. It's like it's really intense. It's like yeah, really intense story. Really yeah, really horrifying. Um, he's really good at that too. Like he's really good at like creating worlds that are really fucked up too. That's pretty common in a lot of his stuff too. Like V for Vendetta is really dark and really fucked up. Like
Mm,
more so than the movie. If you've only seen the movie, it's
I've
like
only
the
seen
book is yeah, From Hell, which is like 20th early or late 19th century London, like portraying like just a really grimy dark world. Um, yeah. Um, and of course Watchmen is like extremely pretty messed up as well. So yeah, Alan Moore is awesome. It's like taking it dark. He's not afraid of the shadow, and I think like he brings life to the shadow that I think is that a lot of writers can't do. And I think this story is like a prime example of him at his best in that for as a fantasist.
Agreed. Good. I'm excited to get into your questions. I mean, we could just get into it.
What about Britannia?
Well, yeah, Britannia, do you want us? I mean,
Oh, I'm so excited to read his stuff. I ordered my book last week and it didn't come in and it was supposed to come in today.
Oh
They kept
no.
pushing the day back and then it still hasn't come in yet. So I'm like still waiting for it. It said it was gonna be here by 10 o'clock tonight. So
Huh.
yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. Speaking magically on it, I mean, I've been going through like a rough time and so maybe like it was like life's way of being like, oh, you're like emotionally not like the story probably wouldn't have been good for me to read based off what I know of the story. You know what I mean? Like not just from like your blurb, but like like I feel like I know what the content of the story is, and yeah, I'm glad that maybe like gotta skip that one and come back to it.
yeah. Um, yeah, it was just dark. I mean, do we want to go into questions or should we go into like the summary of what the story was first? I mean, starting off, I love that he didn't start it off saying that it was a whorehouse, like that it was, the what house without clocks. Um, and I love that that's the imagery inside. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't, is whorehouse even the right way to say that? Like, what do you call that? A prostitution house?
Yeah, it's a
Brothel.
A brothel?
brothel. Yeah.
So, like, I
Mhm.
mean, that's just, yeah, that imagery is just really interesting. When I first was reading, I thought, yeah, it was going to be like a magical training school, but then having the twist be that it's just sexual because it is a magical training school, but it's all in like sex workers,
Yeah.
which really interesting. Poor Som Som, but I mean, Som Som
Yeah.
isn't even. I mean, of course she's phased because it's a really torturous process to what? I mean, she got lobotomized, right? Like that's what.
Kind of her brain was severed, like the connection between the right and left side were severed.
So, and that's typically where the pineal gland is. So in his description of it, it wasn't disconnecting that, I don't
I
think.
don't I don't think I don't think they disconnect the pineal gland. It's more the those connections that wire each side. So
Okay.
so that one side can't really communicate with the other side. So like her vocal, like all her expression and ability to express isn't isn't connected to what she experiences, what she takes in, so that she can't ever express anything that she takes in. She can't reflect on anything outwardly, but she can inwardly. It's like it's
That's
really hard to even
horrifying.
comprehend how that works, but yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard to comprehend because is that even
Yeah.
experiencing something if you can't
Well,
verbalize it?
that's the hypothetical lizard,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
She's representative of the hypothetical lizard.
It's like,
There's a whole like nesting thing in the whole thing. Like there's the house without clocks inside the city of luck, which is in the bigger world, like so there's like this nesting of and inside the house without clocks is a place out of time, right? Without clocks. So it's like kind of a place out of time. So it like kind of exists in kind of this liminal state that can't, in a way, can't be shared with the rest of the world. And so it's like nested in the city of luck, and there's stuff in that too. But I thought that, and then she brings the ball of the hypothetical lizard into the house without clocks, which is like the other layer.
And then everything breaks, like shit falls
Yeah.
apart.
Well, between this couple, yeah.
Yeah, I guess just between the couple.
I mean, the house itself is intact. The house
Yeah.
itself survives, and
Except I mean, the girl's dying, the main, what is she? The mother?
Rawachin, yeah, she dies.
Okay.
But
Um, okay, so I mean, Som is, I mean, that's why I guess it was framed like her role was most important in the house. I mean, not most important, I guess, because I mean, she was just treated like everybody else, it seems like. I mean, she seems like she had a really, everybody had a really nice place in there or whatnot, but it seems like when she got assigned her role, it was communicated to her like it was going to be something very like special, like the kind of core of what the house or the house meant, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah, because she's like the secret keeper. She's the one who can like she's the prostitute to wizards. That's her role. Um so she can like serve wizards sexually, and like in the moments I love it. It's like so dark but so messed up. In their moments of greatest ecstasy, like crazy magical shit happens, and people die, and things appear out of nowhere, and the wizards disappear and turn to other things, and all this stuff. But she can never tell anybody what happens. She literally just can't, because it's all held inside. So
Yeah.
it's like she's this like secret keeper. So she's again like the secret keeper within the house without clocks, which is already kind of a secretive, like dark kind of place where things, yeah, yeah, outside this place outside of time, like the place that, yeah,
I mean, she really represents silence. Like that was, I mean, that was explicitly said, by Alan Moore in here. Like there was a part where it was like, I will represent silence or whatnot.
oh yeah,
Which was just, I mean, it did, shift, or not shift, but it did put a new context on silence for me a bit. I mean, yeah, I'm extremely expressive and I can't imagine what type of anguish it would be to not express what I go through. Like I just think that's a part of like the human experience. So it's just very interesting to have somebody kind of sign up for that role or be, but I mean I get it because of she's privy to magic that no one else is, I guess.
but she didn't sign up for it. She was sold into it. I mean,
I guess yeah.
she's sex trafficked. It's like it's pretty bad,
I guess so. I
as
mean,
most people there
I guess she
were.
was 9 years old too, huh? So you don't really have a
Yeah, her mother sold her to this place.
okay.
Like literally sold her. She got a bag of change for it, a bag of coins.
I mean, didn't it seem like there was a conversation where I think she did have a choice though? Like it was, I mean, maybe not like, I mean, yeah, okay. I
Not
think
really.
you're
I mean,
right.
even if she had some choice, it was like, what choice did she have? Her mother is like, do
Yeah, like
this,
she didn't know where
or I
else to
don't
go.
know. Yeah. Um.
Anyway, um,
So the it opens with the with her like staring into the courtyard, the obsidian courtyard, and like seeing it as a pond, like a pond of darkness,
hmm.
What do you think the significance of the pond is in the story
I
of
mean,
the
probably the abyss, right? Or just like the first glimpse of it, because I do feel like the whole story is also just someone not surviving their abyss and thinking that their low was their lowest and then continuing down further.
yeah,
Um, so I think that foreshadows it.
I think it's interesting that it's like the courtyard is like what separates the house, which is like all the door colored rooms and doors. So there's all this like color, but like in between is the abyss. The house without clocks is separated from the city of luck through the abyss. You have to cross the abyss to visit the house without clocks.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was in the center.
Yeah, it's like a I think it the way I read it was it's like a mostly enclosed circle with like a archway entrance, and then that's the courtyard. So
Oh,
you enter the archway onto the courtyard, and there's balconies that look over the courtyard, and the different parts can be entered through different doors
okay.
of the courtyard.
I think you're right.
Mhm.
Because I was wondering, I'm like, how could they get into the center of the circle if the doors are facing the center?
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a,
Because she watches people come and go from the house like through the courtyard from some.
mhm.
So yeah, again, it's that separation, the abyss, which is which is said a lot about. I think a lot is said about the abyss and about
Yeah,
what like what is. I think like yeah, what do you think it says about the abyss? What do you?
yeah. Um, I mean, for me, it put context in other moments of my life, though, where I mean, I do feel like I've felt, I mean, maybe not towards the end, but I mean, I've definitely had people say as messed up of things to me in certain ways like that. So, and I feel like in my mind, I've created spaces that probably look very similar to, I mean, yeah, my delusions went in this direction um, on psychedelics. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an accurate description, but I didn't, when I was going through those trips, I mean, obviously I knew they were bad, but they never seemed like an abyss to me then. I mean, maybe I didn't have a word for it, but yeah, I do think it's a threshold between Frauder Ocker had a really good post, I think a couple days ago on like the on nothing space. But I don't know that that's what this is either. I mean, this seems more straight dark, but there is also life that can be created out of it. Like it is a chance for rebirth, but it's not quite nothing. Like it is more, it seems more like the darkest point.
Yeah, I think it's like the condensing of every possibility of some way, you know. It's like the place from which any all possibility can arise, like in within this city of luck too, like where like luck, chance, possibility arising out of the abyss, and that's like and that's kind of I don't know, I think the hypothetical lizard has something to do with that as well, like the idea that it's like that which you can't know or speak of, but it's still potentially true, like the potential truth that comes out of the abyss, but we don't know. We can never know until we're actually there, until we actually experience it or something. And then Psalm is constant. I was always in the abyss in some sense, right? Because she's kind of represents like being there, and she has and she's like the wisest and most insightful one of all, but nobody can ever know it. And like so she is when you talk to her, she is like a abyss. Like you talk to her and she can't respond, and she responds with is just inane stuff from her past that side of her brain is what is active in the expression. So like you can say whatever and she just will reflect whatever back and like and just reflect. And I think like Rawa Chin likes to talk to her because she'll just like reflect back whatever her own neuroses are or something. Like
Mhm.
she'll just reaffirm her own like neuroses through this lens of that, which can't
I
really,
know.
yeah.
Which was upsetting to realize. Like I thought the way Som was gonna just was initially describing the relationship that it would be, I don't know, I felt like there would be some intuitive dialogue that might happen or some form of communication. And then it never went there. Like it really went into Rawin just like wanting to hear, just wanting to talk to nobody, kind
Yeah.
of, and just express it. I mean, it made me feel like, what would I do if Som was in front of me? Like it would be, yeah, it would be interesting to, like, I mean, yeah, it's, I guess if I were in this world, which,
Yeah.
something like this would be accepted. Like it's also like, I'd be like, girl, you need a surgeon, like, let's get you out of here. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, not so much. Like that's her role, is to not say that. And like, you can't
Yeah.
really check in on her because how's she gonna say anything back? I mean, as long as she's not hurt, I guess, and she's eating, like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
baffling.
You can't know if she's suffering or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and
As a reader, we get more insight than what the characters would get, but of course, but even then, it's like we can't really know.
yeah.
But I thought what one of the times that struck me, or a part of that struck me, is when what do I have a quote? Um, when Rawa Chen returns and she tells Foral Yacht, her lover, that she she's not exactly sure why she came back, but she thinks because there's something truer than true at the house without clocks. Right? There's some absolute truth that's there that she can't quite describe, that it comes close to describing, like that she talks about the episode with the that she saw the guy get crushed under a wagon
Yep.
wheel, and that's like the truth. That was what inspired her to come back, because that was the truest thing she's seen, and she knows that back at the house without clocks is the truth. And and my thought was that the true thing at the house without clocks is Som Som. Som is kind of represents that truth, but I don't think Rawa Chin
Knew that.
understands that or actually figures that out. She comes back and then she gets manipulated by Foral Yacht, and
I feel like
that's what happened. What happens is like the abominable transformation that the sorcery that he pulls on her.
yeah. I mean, I feel like she went back to discover the truth of why she was so alluring to people.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like it was that, and she thinks she found it, and that's why, she ends her own life. But I don't think that that was
No,
the real answer.
no, she ends her own life because it's not her that ends her own life. They switch places. He steals her identity.
Well, but he still in his body, or is he's not in her
It's
body.
almost like, no, but it's almost like he just
Like, yeah,
he completely like steals her identity, and like turns her into him.
yeah. I mean, of course.
He switches places with her completely, like, and like with like, yeah, and the way it just describes that sorcery is like really really interesting. But so that's what happens. So it's actually like, in a way,
Is it
it's like it's
her
Foral Yacht that commits suicide because he's switched, and it's Rawa Chin that's switched. But
consciousness switched?
what's that?
Like, which consciousness stayed
Well, yeah, that's the
alive?
interesting thing. Yeah,
I mean, how I read
it's
it is that it was the manipulation of the story of, like, how I read it is that Floral Yacht made thought that her truth was that she was not grief,
Guilt.
but
Guilt.
Guilt, right?
Yeah.
And once that like truth was uncovered, then that was like the shattering moment of being able to like, here is what I was doing this whole time that you were gone, and like now this will be your future while I go live here, because now I'm guilty for what I'm going to do for you, and now I'm the alluring one and you're no longer guilty because you have done that. So, and then once Rawin does that, then, and as they were leaving, she kills herself is what I thought. But and I thought they're
Well, yeah, I think he completely stole her identity. He like became her.
Was it her body or was it his body?
It was still his body, but he still became her because and that's part of like why they made her transgender, was because that allowed that to happen, because he could still keep his penis, and still like then be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she could still, God, man. And then to have sex with that Donna Blairot, right? A poor thing.
Yeah.
That was horrifying. Just like, oh, you've never been with a woman and now you're going to be with her. Like,
yeah.
And also just for Rawin to like realize that that's like what Floral Yacht had been doing the whole time, like, is really upsetting as well. Like, I get the guilt a little bit. I do think, again, it was his own choice. And that's where the manipulation happened, is like he had every opportunity to leave the house whenever he wanted. It was just like, I mean, Som mentioned the capability not being there, right?
Yeah, but then it was like, I think the reveal at the end was that Floral Yacht might have been planning this for even before she left. I don't know. Even before Rawa Chin left, he might have been planning this, because he's revealed like Som when he looks back at her when he's leaving at the very end, she's like, that's the gaze of a powerful wizard. That's and that was like, and Som is the only one that actually sees him because of Som's particular,
affliction,
disability. Affliction. Part of it being like she only sees things flat. She doesn't see depth either. But yeah, there's a lot of layers to this too. Like a lot of these things where Som sees the truth, and the truth resides in Som, but Som nobody ever knows. It's hypothetical. It's the hypothetical lizard.
Yeah.
And even at the end, it's like a scale. The truth resides like a scaly thing inside Som, and this horror, this horror that's beyond. I think I have a quote. That's a good one. A monstrous crime had been committed, an atrocity of appalling magnitude and scale that somehow remained both abstract and intangible. Having not perceivable edges, its monstrosity was thus infinite, and it was this that Som reeling out backward into the cold black courtyard. What sent Som reeling out backward into the cold black courtyard? Yeah. And of course, she like reels into the abyss, like the infinite like possibility, or the infinite like truth, but like that nobody can say. That which is like always hidden.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Floral Yacht was an actor, the best actor the whole time. I don't know. I mean, my impression was that he did plan it before she returned. That's why I thought he was so dumbfounded by the return and unable to kind of address it for a really long time. And then it unfolded very naturally, like what the dynamics were and how easy it was to change roles and take that on. Like, that was something that Floral Yacht was very accustomed to, just being so shapeshiftery already, but convincing or alluring. Um, and then
He
fully have that at the end, like was just an easy switch. So it was more like graduating into wizardry. That's how I saw it, as the of like, oh, now you're a sorcerer. Like you've like decided to use your powers this way. And like you could do this again whenever you want.
Yeah, I'm not sure because he guilt trips her when she leaves. Remember, he like shows her the poison vial
And
and
doesn't actually kill himself.
like I will kill myself if you leave, but then he doesn't kill himself. You know, he's like that's like the guilt trip that like he that like stimulates that.
But it's like, did she have that guilt before or was it right there?
I know that's a good question.
Because it's
But
like,
but that's kind of what they were saying is that that's what her allure is. It comes from
but
some.
see, I think that's where he manipulates. So you might be right. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
but I
Yeah,
think that's where he manipulated it for that wasn't even her true, what was truly alluring about her. Like it
you're
wasn't,
probably right. Yeah,
and she didn't find the truth and she never left the abyss because it wasn't the
right.
right truth. He communicated the wrong truth. She fell in and like never got her way back, even though it was just a manipulation.
But she did become him. She did
Yes.
kind of because
Well,
there's that part where like the lights go out and suddenly she's like enraged like
he
him
rapes him.
yeah, and then rapes him. Yeah,
But again, I think that that's more because he like it was a degrading process. And like I think it's just like a mirroring relationship that they had anyway. Like I don't know.
right.
And like it was just easy for them to switch roles because those roles
Yeah,
always existed. And as it was
right.
transferring over, like it feels like that's how Floral Yacht was. I mean, maybe not the like rapey, like really hardcore, but like it was always that dynamic between them.
Yeah,
So like it needed, if it was going to be switched so that he could leave, then it needed to be switched in that way.
yeah. And then afterwards, after the rape, the lights go out, and then like they talk to each other as each other. Like it suddenly, like it even doesn't say who's talking, but it's like
Yeah.
that
I love
that
that he wrote
that
it like
Rawa
that.
Chin is actually talking as him, as Foral Yacht, and Foral Yacht is talking as her, and it's like there's this there's like it becomes this total confusion of identities. Light that it's at first the lights flickering. This scene is so it's like so mesmer. It's like so much, and there's like it's the having had this build up of like lust and sensuality, and then like the lights flickering, shadows moving, and then the light goes out, and then suddenly like they're completely talk switch, like they're talking as each other, and
Hmm.
it's like, and that's when Forliot leaves and leaves Rawich in there to commit suicide, the poison vial,
Yeah.
which was what Forliot had threatened to do before anyway. Like, eh,
I mean, it does beg the question of like whose consciousness actually left and who's conscious
yeah,
of themselves, I guess, in that way. Because I agree with you. And I think he's frameworking it like that. But then it still felt like it was, I mean, maybe
well,
Som
he's still in there. I think he's clearly still in there because he like he looks up at Som like in a knowing way, like I know what I did. I can be her and me, and like I can steal her identity and totally ruin her. Like yeah, and that's kind of the and that's even more like I think that's almost more disturbing in a way than actually just switching with her because
yeah, because it didn't seem like they
knowing full well what he did and yeah.
because of
He
that.
stole. He didn't. He switched. He made it like a switch because he did like he kind of manipulated her into like becoming him in that weird way, in the way he like made her go have sex with the client, and like cut her hair and wear simple clothes while he was like taking her clothes and her riches and dressing up and growing his hair out and all the things. So he definitely like manipulated her into switching places and then like confusing her identity. He knew what he was going on the whole time, but she didn't until the very end. And that's when it was too late.
It's too
Yeah.
late because
Yeah.
it's like the belief was there and the like, yeah, I mean, the roles and the roles needed to be reversed like that, like with the rape, so that he could, like, Floral Yacht could leave. Like,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been able to leave if she hadn't taken on like a more dominant stance and done that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah, like gave him the last like resolve to like cut the ties. Like, yeah.
Which was interesting. So this conversation and the one before that too, where he described the guilt, um, and what is it like? Okay, hold on. I think Floral Yacht was saying what Rawa was describing when Rawa first came back after the 5 years and came into the room, and then but the story was different the way Floral Yacht was saying it. It wasn't the same dialogue. That was like but then Rawa was hearing it in the way that he heard it.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to me because I've been there before with people as well. Like,
Oh.
my impression of what I said was this, and their impression of hearing it was like worthy of lashing out. I mean, obviously not to this extent. It's like, but I mean, to an extent of like, oh, I didn't like you because I interpreted what you said in this way, which there is truth behind some of that sometimes as well. Like, I do feel like Rawa believed like what Floral was saying, like, oh wow, I think I am more messed up than I thought I was. I don't know
Yeah.
if you read it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I think it's kind of gaslighting. Right? He
Yeah.
gaslights her. That's part of the manipulation too.
But
It's
does
like,
he know that, or did he actually feel like she said it this way? I guess either way, it doesn't
right.
matter. That's still gaslighting. But no, gaslighting is
I
when you
think
intentionally like say something wrong.
no, gaslighting is when you make someone think it's that's like their fault. Yeah,
I
when
mean,
it's like
oh,
really you. What's
Well,
that?
gaslighting is just like making people second guess their like the reality of the situation, like that
Yeah,
someone's trying to twist or manipulate like your
right.
interpretation of the reality. It's kind of like that double speak that we were talking about the other night.
yeah. I do feel like this is more maybe an example of double speak, where what he was saying was trying to get like through a selfish motivation. Double speak, I guess, is like speaking in obscurity or like metaphor or in a certain way that gets you what you want in the end, I guess. I think more complexity there, but when I was reading this, I felt like Floral Yacht actually was upset that like heard it like that when she was talking. But maybe that is a part of the manipulation to take what she had. I mean, I guess both can be true. It's like he was upset that she left.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like I think we can't know. It's one of the things like, and they say this a few times in the story. Is there a lizard? They like say something like, "Do you love me?" And then they says, "Is there a lizard in the sphere?"
It's like yes, but I don't know. Is it yes or no? It's like both.
Yeah, it's yes or no. And it's Brittany, if you're there, the lizard is like she brings him this gift when she returns that's a little sphere that either that is said to have a lizard lying like this special kind of lizard that can lie dormant inside it, but it can't be opened. So don't know if the lizard is in the sphere or not. Like it's hypothetical that the lizard is in the
Oh, that's
sphere.
Schrodinger's cat. That's
It's
a
kind of like Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. Yeah.
but only like I think it's like I don't know, it's kind of like a metaphor for like, oh, is the darkness in there, or is it all around you, or is it in there? Like what is I don't know. It's kind of like that role of like the metaphorical lizard. It's kind of asking you like, are we all that? Is it only compartmentalized, or is it like everywhere? I don't know. Seems like it's kind of like asking you more about like to like inflect on the darkness in like that way, and like the manipulation if like everyone has like that darkness in them. Because like I know a lot of Alan Moore's characters and like a lot of his other books that I've read have this like it's like a humanizing dark edge, but it's almost like an othering dark edge too, where it's like these people fringe on like so dark that you're like, yo, is that like otherworldly dark, or is that like inherent to humans dark too? It's like where the bridge meets or something.
Right.
They refer to the lizard as like love though too, like between their couple. Like I think it represents
Well, it's
Som is
the
the truth,
lizard. The lizard is representative of like
whatever.
what truth can be claimed. It's like is it what's the truth that resides in silence? You know,
Hmm.
in so like when he asks like, do you love me? Or when she asks, do you love me? He replies, is there a lizard
In the ball.
in the ball? So like it's like we don't know. It's like obviously like there's either love or not inside him, but we can't. But his answer just reveals that we can't know that. And then that's partly manipulative too, right? Because like
Yeah, that's so messed
yeah,
up.
yeah, it's hypothetical. The love exists. The love either exists or it doesn't, but we'll never know, because it's hidden in his silence.
Hmm.
Just like the whole thing is hidden within Psalm, then like nobody can ever know but Psalm. The lizard now takes root in Psalm of this whole thing, this whole episode.
I mean, part of this is literally what's happening to me also. So that's very, there's a conversation that can't be had. So it's a silent state. There is love, but it's unknown whether that can actualize or not. So it's like
Yeah.
no one can know. And the few people, Britannia, I guess you're Som in this analogy. Sorry.
Yay.
Just tell her everything, everything. But
And that is
I feel like
that is like
appropriate.
Schrodinger's cat. You can't know until you actually observe it, until it's actually said, until it actually comes out of the abyss.
Yeah, until it
No.
reveals itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, yeah. And that's
Well,
where
and I
it's
think
difficult maybe. I mean, in the story, like when they were together in the beginning, it felt like love. And then it slowly stopped being that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that question of course is, did he ever love her, or was he always manipulated? Like I said, I don't know, and I think that's part of it. We can't know. He ever loved
honestly,
her,
I've
or he
I've
was
been in
manipulated.
some messed up relationships where like this story sounded like honestly like decently triggering because I've been in like this relationship sounds like so very familiar.
Oof. Yeah.
To yeah, like bad. Like yeah. So it's weird because like it is like a Schrodinger at the end too, where you literally never know if that person ever cared about you, or if like their care like turned into like this madness that like became this obsession where it was like I don't even want you, like it's almost like like you love something so much that you like squeeze it to death. It was like, Lenny, put down the mouse. But I feel like
Oh.
that's kind of like the cautionary tale of it. It's like I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a very human tale. Because I mean, I listen to a lot of mythology and stuff, and like half the wars and like revenge and stuff was like this kind of stuff back and forth. And there's a lot of like that betrayal and stuff and all those like classic fables. But I feel like I don't know, Alan Moore is more like or individuals, so you can get like a hyper awareness of like very specific perspectives in like a very specific circumstance that like kind of illuminates like, you know, these kind of characteristics in a universal way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And maybe he loved her so much that's, I mean, he like loved, was like desirous, was like whatever it was that you might call love in him, was he did it so much that that's what made him want to take her place, become her
How I
in the
read
Yeah,
first
it's
place,
a
how I read
perversion of love.
to colonize her personality completely, to become, you know. And that's like that's like the darkest a wizard can possibly be, is to like to like take on, you know, to grasp, like to hold on to an identity so much, like to take for himself rather than like selfless, like opening, you know, the whole thing of, I think that's like the ultimate of like black magic, is to let's like selfishly just like hoard hoard power. And
God,
that's like, and
that's also
ultimately that
happening.
was like his power was to like steal her personality, like to add to his potential repertoire, like you said, is he going to go out and do this again, like, because he's a,
Yeah, he knows how to do it now.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, not to.
Sounds like so much work, like so exhausting. You like, I feel like it would take a lot less effort to just change yourself, or you know.
right. But no, he's like power hungry, he loves the power, he loves the
It's the
power of this
game. It's
magic, you know. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
If you do it like, I mean, really, this whole process took less than 2 weeks after she got back, right? Or wasn't it like less than a month? Because Som kept saying like, oh, she thought she'd leave, and only after 1 week was she already wearing rags, and was she already like, doing this his bidding in this way. Like it
yeah, I
happened
think
a
it
lot
was
quicker.
a month or so. Yeah, that's what it felt like, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my impression was that they did have a significant thing when they
Yeah.
were in the house together. That, and also when it's like when she was on his level, they were like enjoying their time, and everyone knew that they were kind of an item, and that it was a big scene when she left because it seemed legitimate. But then once she was leveling up and kind of taking herself out of the picture, he had 5 years to like stew in that and really like not change or level up and concoct like a plan. Like
Yeah.
that's what where my mind went with it. And I mean, 5 years, yeah, love turns into obsession, turns into hatred, turns into, jealousy, turns into betrayal. Like that's like kind of where it gets in some areas, especially depending on people. But yeah, and I don't
Yeah, you're
think,
probably right.
because I don't think she would have returned if she also, like, she was seeking the truth of why this person loved her. And like she didn't know why she was so lovable. And she still didn't find that out, I don't think, because it was not guilt. Guilt was what, that's not, I don't even think that's why she came back, like, honestly. Like, it was curiosity and potential for love that was probably not anywhere else that she found, because the abyss holds that true space. But it got
And
distorted by the time she got back.
maybe the truth is the abyss. It's like, is the really not knowing, the not absolute, the non-absolute space is like, and the truth is that the cat in Schrodinger's box, the cat is both alive and dead in the box.
Yeah.
It's like, it is the,
It's not necessarily healthy or closure inducing, but I mean, at least from my experience of what I'm going through now, it's like I know that there's love there. If we ever approach it, it's going to change, and it's going to be something where it's not just hypothetical anymore. It's not, both of us are holding the space that we know we both love each other. So that's really difficult because the situation around it isn't going to change right now. So like there's not a lot of like, if anything is said, it's just going to change that underlying feeling. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, sometimes not finding out might be better, but I don't know. In this, I don't.
Maybe living, yeah, I mean, in some way, I mean, I think that there's something there. It feels like there's something to that though, like that the truth can only reside in the unknowing. Like it's just in just the being with, and not like needing it to be something or other. It doesn't need to be love or not. It's just, it can just be what it is and not be said or something. Like that, like you don't need the need for confirmation of it is like what allows for the manipulation and like the like distortions to start happening between between the
That is interesting. Like her
yeah.
seeking out that answer. So like what I was going to say, like you have to be really equipped to enter this space. I mean, I feel like she wasn't ready because she went into it and just kind of fell into him again. And in the same way she did before, but he had changed and she had changed, but she hadn't changed to the way that she could hold her own through that. Like she easily got manipulated. Like that was
because
not
she's looking for confirmation of his love. She wants to know, like she wants to be her guilt is telling her that she wants to be loved, that she wants to be, she wants to she wants him to forgive her, you know, she wants him to take her back. And then she has this fantasy about like him falling in love with her again. So, and then they can go off together because she has money. She's like ready to go off together. And then, but then with that fantasy and that guilt, he manipulates her. So he manipulates the truth. He manipulates her delusions. Whereas the truth itself gets completely lost in there. And
Mhm.
Som's the only one who actually ultimately sees the truth. Again, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, Som, man. I mean, that's, yeah, she wanted to cry out and wake the city of luck itself, alerting it to this abomination, perpetrating
Oh,
while Liveck looked the other way, unsuspecting. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those stories that would just not even, people wouldn't even blink their eye at, but it is like the most horrifying thing to have happen to you or to like go through something like, I mean, obviously because it ends in death, but even if it didn't, like, yeah, that's, I guess, one of the most horrifying things that could happen, I would say, because that's like a soul level hurt, like heartbreak. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. No, I mean, he just completely, I think he completely destroyed her soul. Like, yeah, for sure.
I think the
I think
light,
that's the crime. That's the abysmal crime that he did. It's like, yeah,
and I think they did become one, like you said, and roles were switched, and then he maybe killed off the parts of himself that he didn't like.
right. He like put it on her. He put that on her, and then she could just literally kill it by killing herself. Yeah, yeah.
You know?
That's like the most dark magic a wizard can do.
Well,
Again,
that's
it's
the
like,
ultimate like gaslighting too, because for
yeah,
like the thing become a part of you, you know what I mean? Like, and then you can't take it. So yeah, yeah, very fucked up.
maybe he didn't completely destroy her soul, but he stole her soul, or even. potentially, which may even be a worse crime, to like steal someone else's soul or something.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
It's nice to read. It's or not nice, God. It's interesting to read dark magic in this way. Like, because this is something that transcends, the fantasy or not, the world that he creates or this world. Like this is something that could happen here. And I think it could happen like that here because and I'm sure it has and like will again, really. So yeah, I mean that's I from Psalm's perspective, you really do see how dark it is, where sometimes if things happen gradually within relationships, like, I mean, domestic violence is just so prevalent. And like, I do know people who dress a certain way, change the way they dress or the way they talk around their partner or can't talk to certain people. Like, I mean, even when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to like open doors for myself. And like, there was like, very like restrictions, like I was kind of really fucked up. My stepdad had to open all of our doors. So like we weren't, and he made it as this like chivalrous thing, but it was, sorry, I'm not trying to spew my trauma.
No,
Solved a lot of that, but it was like you can be placed in a box really quickly. And it happens with like, oh, I'm going to do a nice thing to you by opening the door. But like really, then it becomes like you're not allowed to get out of the car until he opens the door. And if you touch the handle to open the door, he will like, yell at you to shut the door. And like he has to come around and shut the door, open the door for you, open the front door for you. And it's like you're not even allowed to walk freely wherever you are. Like, see how that just gets to you, And it's slow and gradual, and people around see things happening. But when it's addressed at the church, it's not, it's a sin to get divorced. So you don't talk about it. Like you don't do those things. And I mean, we got kicked out of church for my mom divorcing my stepdad, because that's what it was. Like that's how it is, I guess. And like that, but that is like can become that crime, like that. Like you feel someone's ability to express themselves. And really have any sort of voice there and, become numb to things until it, just overtakes you.
Oh, that reminds me of a quote then. So like she's asking, is there luck or is there only circus without form or pattern, a senseless wave that obliterates all before it? And he answers, of course, is there lizards asleep within the ball? Oh. Or oh no, that wasn't the quote, but that the quote was, it seemed that many who dealt with the manipulation of luck would themselves leave nothing to chance.
Leave nothing to chance, yeah.
So it's like
the control
manipulate the world to like in the way you want it to be, an image, and then like and then it like folds itself into your. And that's like a quote about talking about wizards. Oh, that was the quote it's early on when he's talking about her, the reason why Samsam is severed was that like, so the wizards, the manipulators of luck, the wizards leave nothing to chance. They leave no way of her like spilling the beans about the crazy shit that they're up to. Like, and in their lust, they give away a lot of themselves to the world, but to whoever's there. But she can't ever talk about it.
What a strange, I mean, what a series this would be. Like, could you imagine just following Som around and like who are these wizards? It's just you want to know, like, what are you up to?
And this being the city of luck, it must be like maybe where the wizard academy is or something. Like there's a lot of wizards there that manipulate luck, and that's a lot of dark wizards, a lot of people manipulating luck and thereby manipulating truth in a sense, like drawing out truth from the abyss. drawing out that which is concrete or which can be grasped from the ungraspable.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just like having that kind of power over somebody else too. I don't know, for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But I
mean,
guess, yeah, what I'm trying to like relate that to what you were saying, but I guess that's kind of what Britannia said.
yeah, I think, I mean,
Manipulating people to like fit your or what you want in life, what like to manipulate your circumstances so they turn out predictable for you, and then but you draw other people into your, like the church does, like they draw other people into their fantasy of what divinity is or what Jesus means, and
or what even a marriage looks
or
like,
that
you
or
know?
what a
I mean,
marriage, yeah, yeah, what a marriage looks
like
like.
that's where some of the like real manipulation comes into play with these institutions and these things like this. It's like, this is what I want my relationship to be like, so I'll do anything to like have it look like that. And that's where Rara starts to really degrade herself in that way, and the roles get diverse because it's control, not control, and then switches really quick. And that's when like that, I mean, I do think that he's describing really well like a form of dark sex magic, which would be like control, not control, you know, or control, submission, whatever. And then like it slowly starts to like, but it's not even switch, just like, yeah, I guess switch, and then abruptly, and then that's when he can leave, because there's
Yeah,
like a release of that
yeah,
type of like, it's like, yeah, it's, that's where it's, I think, tricky with that stuff. It's like you have so much control for so long, and then it easily like whiplashes the other way, and you have to learn how to like ride that, not learn, but I mean that's where it would be like riding that change is just a really hard part of being in control of everything all of the time and wanting to
right.
manipulate things to be your way. It's like, how do you know that your way is going to be just like is what it should be? Like that's not, it often doesn't allow people to express themselves fully, like, or to be who they are. And it's not in
Yeah,
flow usually when you try
yeah,
to manipulate things.
yeah, totally.
I mean, GMOs, slicing, like everything that we
Yeah,
like have some effort of manipulation on, you know, tends to go awry some way or another. Like you can do it up to a point, but then there is like this slipping slope
hmm,
where things just kind of break apart, I feel like.
yeah, and a lot of that really does, and that is like breaking the genome is like drawing this so-called truth out of the genome, right? Like
Hmm.
seeing this, like this is the truth, and then being able to, and through that truth being able to manipulate the
Hmm.
genome, you know. um Whereas like in the unknowing of what the genome is, like the flow can actually happen, like we can actually like it actually is just the natural flow of things. We don't, there's no need to control it. It just is there without us knowing it being there at all.
I like that you said that because that's what I like to view. Like, I mean, God and the cosmos and like universal design as kind of. I mean, I love that I have a framework that works for magic and allows me to reach for something. But I do think that like if we were to know God, it wouldn't be God anymore. Like that is part of the like unknown, like accepting the unknowing allows for it to unfold in the way that it's supposed to. So it's like you don't like that question of like what is universal design, or like who is God, what is God? It's like there is no answer to, like there should not be an answer to that. I don't think, like you should be like yes, no, like yes and no, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you and not you, like all of the above. I mean, in my eyes.
And that's, I mean, that's a philosophy that has been put out there a lot, like really good Islamic philosophers we're talking about this in like, I don't know, 5th, 6th century or something, but maybe a little later. But like, you can't name, when you name God, it's like you're putting a human quality on God. That's like, when you say anything, when you say God is anything, then you've by defining that, it's not it. It's never it, you know. And then a lot of Christians have taken that idea too. Like, it's not a very new idea. It's funny. It's funny that then, like, that philosophy is very old, and people have developed really great mystical systems around that, and yet, like, but that element of control is still persistent in religion, you know, in Christianity and Islam and Judaism, and in particular, I think these monotheistic religions. But anything that defines God's, like, that's like, this is the map is like saying the map is the territory, when obviously, like, it can't ever be, you know. It's way more. The map might point out qualities, but even then, like, with God, it's like, even saying any quality is of God is like, to some of these people, it's blasphemy. That's you can't, like, I think Sufis, like, that's
Oh,
like, Sufis that don't, like, you can't say any quality of God. Like, there's a lot of, like, you say the qualities, then you say not the qualities, you know, that kind of thing. It's
I
like,
think I remember learning that.
is this and not this, you know. It's like, because it's like, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of philosophies around that, like, what on how to approach that question. It's a really tough question, and what it does. But I think that what's interesting to me is, like, what it does to your own mind when you approach these things with different different theoretical frameworks, you know.
Mhm. How your reality
As
changes.
Yeah, how your reality changes by framing things differently, by mapping it differently in a different way.
Mhm. I 1,000% agree with that. And I think for, yeah, I mean, I think accepting the not knowing is like the message that I'll take from this chapter.
Yeah,
Um, it's like cautionary tale to not need all of the answers. Like, that's definitely releases a lot of pressure um around certain, yeah, I mean, around, I mean, my love life situation right now, which, you know, it's just too much when you start to look at every fine detail of the situation. So it is like, it's taking a step back and like not having to like know all the time is a good, if that's where you have to be, then that's where it should be. And like, allow what to unfold should unfold, and not try to force or uncover answers, and watch out for manipulation.
yeah, yeah. And especially, like, I think in lust, because this of course, the chapter was all about, had a lot to do with lust and sensuality, um and like, and how that's a dangerous place too, you know. That's where the wizards, you know, their chaotic magic comes out, you know. That's where, like, their luck manipulation goes a little haywire, you know, in their moments of greatest ecstasy and sex or whatever sex acts they're doing. But that's where, like,
Very Burning Man
things get
vibes.
out of control. Yeah, yeah. Burning Man is a place where that happens like crazy. It's like, it's such an intense place for that. A lot of that. Yeah.
We'll
So,
see.
like, yeah, it's like, how do you ride the sensual waves without getting lost in some way? Like, that's also, I think, part of this story.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah.
Or manipulate. And again, like, sex is also a place where manipulation can easily happen. So
Mhm. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, often. I think that that's like, it's, yeah, frameworked a lot like that sometimes. now.
And maybe that's part of the like the House Without Clocks role is to be a place outside of, and maybe brothels in general is a place outside of normal like societal structure that like crazy ass things, like because everybody in the House Without Clocks is like special in some ways, so they can you know appease whoever's fantasy, whoever, all the kinks can be explored at the House Without Clocks without any kind of repercussions on society. It's outside of that. And what happens in the House Without Clocks stays in the House Without Clocks, I imagine.
Well, it seems because
Especially with Psalm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Psalm says that barely anyone gets out, and it's hard to get out.
Right. Yeah. As far as the um the workers. Yeah.
Workers. Yeah, I was gonna say, what are those called?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's creepy. It's a creep. I want to like learn more about this world because I think
I
the world is
know.
he's like started building an interesting world with this too.
Kind of like left us, because
Short
even
story.
like, yeah, I mean, even from reading this from Psalm's perspective was so cool. Like, because that's not a perspective that, you get really often.
Yeah.
It does, it's so well described. I mean, you could just visualize so many things, and I don't know. He's really talented. Like this, yeah. Even because the story itself, it's so horrifying, and it is one of the like, it's an abomination of the highest, whatever. But at the same time, it's still like it's there's wizards and stuff around. Like it is like kind of normal though. Also, it seems so.
Well, yeah, that's what it says. It's like she's witnessed like horrible things, but this is the worst. This is the infinitely worst thing. And it can't be. And that's I like kind of like that too at the end. Like we're trying to like figure this out a lot. We're trying to grasp it, but at the end it even says that it doesn't have edges, that we don't, that it's something that is so big that we can't even grasp. And I think that's the kind of the point too. That's the horror, is that like this is unknowable, like what really happened. But there's like this sensation of like infinite dread, that of what actually did happen there. And I think he did convey that somewhat well for the audience, because I think it is something abysmal, like something that's beyond comprehending.
Yeah, like wiping someone out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I want to read it again for the world itself. Like, I mean, at a future date, but I also don't. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I listened to it a few months ago on audio tape, and then
reread it.
I reread it. So I've read it. Yeah.
Great.
But it was on a road trip, so it was like we didn't quite get the whole, it's like it's hard to pay attention to everything, and
Totally.
reading it is better. I don't like audiobooks that much, especially something like this. It's like there's so many layers to it that like listening to it, something gets lost. You don't go back and reread passages and stuff like you can.
It was cool because the power was out. Like the power just went out for like 30 houses in a couple blocks. So it was so cool. I was reading it by candlelight, and it's all terrifying, My cat's like, what's going on? It's so dark, and it's just kind of creepy, and it was fun.
You're like in the House Without Clocks, where time is measured by the length of the candle wick.
I'm well, dang it, it's only 8:30, and I'm like, I have to get in bed, and like, what do I have to do? Like, can't watch a show.
Was it the hurricane?
It was like 2 days after that, so I don't even think so. We were very confused because most of our neighbors this way had power, and it was just 30 houses this way. And it had something to do with the cable, because then we tried my uncle wanted to watch TV, so he tried to plug the cable into the generator, and the cable was out. So it was a whole thing.
Oh, geez.
I know.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Can't
Um,
rely on power all the time.
I know. Well, I mean, my car goes solar. That's really fun. But also, it's
Yeah,
just
that's right.
by candlelight.
Yeah.
But solar is kind of where it should be at.
Yeah.
Or, you know, to worry about being on the grid. So next chapter, 47 to 60. So shorter the chapter, but let's just do that like one at a time.
Yeah, yeah. There's one in here that's quite long.
Okay.
I think it's the one called "What We Can Know About
Oh,
Thunder Man." It's a
okay.
long one.
Yeah, that does look really long. Um,
So this next one is Not Even Legend. Not Even Legend.
yep. And we just want to do, yeah, let's do one at a time, right? Maybe we'll split the really long one into two.
Yeah.
We could probably, I mean, we're pretty good readers.
Yeah.
Even if I'm cramming
Yeah,
last
one at a time is good because there's a lot packed into his stories, I think.
Agreed. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Maybe. Oh.